Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Fatback 4 for this Sunday evening. This is the LFC Daytrippers. I'm Gav. I have with me Kev, Keith, and Chris tonight for the next hour and 10, hour and 15 or so. We'll see how we get on. This show, of course, is brought to you by Féileacáin, our charity partner, and we will talk to you a little bit about them later. I've just realised my voice isn't great, and that's
Why is that?
I don't know. It must have
Did you
been
have something on yesterday or something?
Must have been something, yeah.
I'd say it was your 80s Whopper Spotify playlist.
You enjoying that one, eh?
Absolutely, Belinda Carlisle in it. Absolutely all day long. So there you go.
What a playlist.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. Look, we're going to split this show into probably three parts. The first, the match itself. The second, the whole organisation outside the ground, before and after. And the parade today that Liverpool players went on through the city centre. And anything else we'll finish off with in the last 10 minutes or so. Loads and loads and loads of people in and watching. Thanks a million for that. This is the final day where we'll ask you to like, subscribe, share, but we'll always ask you to comment. This is the final day. LFC aficionado says Gav smoked 40 major. No, it's a long time. The last time I smoked a major was when I was about 16. I was robbing them on my dad.
Yeah, hardcore yokes then, wasn't he?
They're
Man, Dad used to smoke.
They're proper gear. But look, let's get into it. Keith, I'll start with you. A disappointing night for Liverpool in Paris in the Champions League final. For me, we're the better side. Starting 11, absolutely fine, no issues whatsoever. A little bit of confusion with regards to Thiago before the game, but he plays. I thought Liverpool played quite well. There was certain things they fell down on, but overall I thought we were the better team that were just, to be honest, just sucker punched by Real Madrid, who on two occasions got into positions where Liverpool had stopped them doing it. Those little half spaces, 30, 40 yards from goal. And yeah, it's just one of those where you take it on the chin, Keith, because that's all you can do. A lot of people would rather say, "Oh, we played shite and lost." You can kind of grin and bear that a bit more. But last night I thought Liverpool played quite well, and just come out on the wrong side of that 1-0 scoreline.
Exactly. I mean, look, I think I'd rather get there, play well and not win. And I understand the reasoning of, we were shy. You get to the dance, you have to do your best. But I just felt, we were the better team. I didn't think Real were great. And they did catch us on the sucker punch. And that was their plan. I mean, they were very defensive. They didn't want to come out of their defensive shape at all. And it was quite clear that the plan was just hitting the long ball, the diagonal ball into Vinicius to try and get him in on the counter attack. And I thought we dealt with it well. But we didn't have any cutting edge. That was our killer last night. Now, I know Thibaut Courtois has a great game and he gets man of the match because he makes some excellent saves. But I genuinely didn't think we were good enough in attack. I thought we were controlling. We were dominating possession. But when it came down to the nitty-gritty, I didn't think we'd done enough. So, look, I think you have to give credit for getting there. And that's what a lot of people... What's been annoying me all day is, Liverpool fans, forget about rival fans, because, look, we all revel when, if Manchester United were to lose a Champions League, or Man City were to lose a Champions League, or Chelsea were to lose a final, we're all happy enough, you know what I mean? I don't go in for the banter and shite, that culture or anything, but, you do have a bit of stake back and forth. I don't mind that. What's been doing my head in is Liverpool fans on the famous twitter.com all day talking about failures and bottle jobs and this and that. And that absolutely sickens me because this team have been anything but bottlers. You know what I mean? They've been 2 games away from fucking greatness and they fell short. And look, it's a long season. It's a hard season. I just enjoyed them. And the game last night, I just felt if we'd have had, and look, I've spoke about Mo Salah, Diaz wasn't great last night, Mane wasn't great, the front line just didn't do it for us, and they've been the ones that have sort of put us where we are for a long time. We've been famed for our front line. Last night wasn't their night, but look, I won't dig this team out. Do you know what I mean? I think they're absolutely amazing, and we'll come on to other things, parades and things like that, and what that sort of meant as well for me personally, as a fan, the stick around that. But look, unfortunately, we just didn't get over it. But with any tournament, and especially with the Champions League, you have to earn it. It doesn't get given to you. And fans seem to think, oh, Real are shit, and we should have won that. We're the favourites. Favourites card to hill. Do you know what I mean? The favourites according to who? Real Madrid, I know mugs. Real Madrid, their run to that final was, if that was us, we'd be saying our name is written all over this. And because it wasn't us, people were running down Real Madrid. Look, a wily team, they had a plan, they executed it, and once they got one goal ahead, they didn't want to play, and they absolutely killed the game. You know, we had a long time to get back into that, and we just couldn't muster it. So it is what it is.
I think, like, you know, a lot of people in the chat there calling about a need for a proper number 9 and stuff like that. I think now I'm going completely on memory with a few points on me watching it because I haven't watched the back, right? But what I found was we were dominating possession. They couldn't really get out of their half, for a lot of the first half, and they were throwing that ball to Vinicius, and I thought Trent handled them really well for the vast majority of the game. Vinicius was always going to get a chance at some stage. That's just the way football works. But I thought Liverpool in the first 25-30 minutes were playing really well. They were finding those little spaces around the box. They were getting a couple of shots away. The fullbacks weren't great in getting forward, I will say that, but Liverpool, I think, were definitely intent on playing at a high pace, and they just didn't want Real Madrid getting the ball, I think, and Modric in particular, 35-40 yards from goal, where he's able to, that inside left channel where he looks up, and that's where the chance for the disallowed goal from Benzema comes from. And I think they were intent on that, and that's why you're seeing Henderson pressing Modric really high and trying to get really at them. And 26 shots or something to 6 or whatever it was, and 9 of them I think on target. The one from Salah is a great save in Courtois. And just overall, like, I can see people, and I can see their argument where they say a proper number 9, but was there many chances there made yesterday for a proper number 9? That would be my only thing. Kev, if there's a few in the chat are saying, like, midfield was an issue, the striker is an issue, but overall it was I thought it was a decent game of football, but it was just one where we had some chances and didn't take them. They had 2, took one which was disallowed, and a second one that they took, and that's the margins you're playing in now.
Well, the margins of the season were defined by a goal and a point. That's it. Over 63 games, it came down to a goal and a point. Was the difference between winning or being in with a chance of winning all 4 and coming away with the 2 that we did come away with. Courtois made outstanding saves. The one from Mane and he hit that with some venom, with that outstretched hand onto the post, and it went back out. Another day that goes in. The one from Salah, it hit the outside of his forearm. But with the power that Salah put on it, it just skied it. They're tiny margins. I really feel for Ibu Konate because I thought he was outstanding last night.
He was outrageously good.
When we were chatting, when me and Chris were on Friday night, he was the only one that we had a debate over. Would you go for Matip's experience over Ibu's youth and exuberance? Bear in mind, it's his home city. It's his first year. It's his first major final. And in he went into it, and he was outstanding. He was absolutely top tier. Now, if we had a physical striker, a physical number 9, we'd play different. We would be whipping crosses in a lot more. I thought we were bigger. We're physically a bigger side than they are. Our set piece was poor. Set piece delivery from both sides was poor all night.
Terrible.
The amount of times that we didn't beat the first man, and that's rare. That doesn't happen often. But we're good on set pieces, so sometimes you need one of those to go for you. We were the better side, but I'll tell you what I thought had an outstanding game for them was Carvajal.
Yeah,
Carvajal.
We had him penned as the weakest link, telling everyone it was how bad he is and we're going to kill him. Made an absolute shit of me.
But Carvajal has got so much experience in nous that
I think he got a fair bit of help as well, though, Kev.
Yeah, of course
one thing
they
I did
didn't
notice
play that usual way.
No, because one thing I did notice was when Diaz got near it, and Carvajal when he was facing up Carvajal, you would see one of Casemiro, Cruz, or Modric coming and just shadowing. Valverde was coming back. Well, Valverde, they kind of kept Valverde up a little bit, and Vinicius. They were looking for those balls, but in particular, the big thing for me when Diaz got it was they wanted to push him wide, to isolate him,
Yeah.
and then they wanted to get 2 on him. So he could
Yeah.
either lose the ball or play it back to Robertson, and they could get back into shape. That's what I thought, Kev, on him.
I mean, Carvajal has come up against Luis Diaz probably 10 times a season in Spain. You know, it's not new to him. And again, this is his first big major final. You know, outside of a Copa where he was top scorer, he's never played in a game of this magnitude. So between him and Ibu Konate, they're going to come out of this with a vastly more experienced outlook on how to play these games. And there's only got to be more to come from them. But when you get to a final, it doesn't matter how good or bad you play. You need to get it over the line, and we just didn't. And credit to Courtois, he was outstanding on the night. But you could tell from the first minute, we got a free kick. And normally they defend a free kick in exactly the same way as we do, high line. Ancelotti had him sat virtually on the penalty spot and said, right, okay, anything that you put in is going to be in front of us. And whether that caught us on the hop or we weren't prepared for it, maybe we thought that Madrid would come and give us, play us a straight up game. They didn't. They played exactly the same way as they did against PSG in the first leg of the PSG game. They sat back, they soaked it up, and they hit on the break. And look, they got it. They did the one chance that they had, and they took it. Shit happens, but as you said, there's no point digging at any of the players who were on the pitch, because I said in a tweet last night, it wasn't from the lack of effort. They tried. It just didn't come off. They had good chances. They weren't clear-cut chances. They created chances for themselves. And sometimes in games like that, sometimes you just need a bit of luck. And when a shot from Salah on his right foot comes off the outside edge of Courtois' arm and flies off into the night sky, you just know it's not going to be a night.
Chris, we're not going to go through every single facet of the game. We're kind of looking at it on a broader scale, I suppose, with regards to how we played, how they played. And somebody said earlier they were surprised how defensive Real Madrid went. I wasn't surprised at all. I said it to lads before in the pub and stuff. If Real Madrid want this to be a big open game, I think they're in trouble. Simply because I thought with their centre halves we could get in behind them if it was an open game where they kept it really compact. Look, 2 things I want to talk about before we move on, right? From the game itself. One, the goal by them. And secondly, is there anything different you would have done starting 11? Who you brought on? And did it show, like, it's 63 game season, so you have to bring that into your thoughts. But did it show Liverpool as a really, really, really good side, but probably needs something somewhere? Did it kind of focus what we might need to do in the summer?
I'm still quite down about it, because as great as the season's been, and it has been a really exceptional season, for it to be a truly monumental season, you have to win one of the big boy cups, which is the League or the European Cup. And unfortunately for Liverpool, too many of our players were just not quite at it at their level. And I was found the starting lineup. It's the starting lineup I think me and Kev talked about on Friday, so I can't turn around and say I wouldn't have picked that. The debate was only Konate's pace or Matip's experience. He went with Konate's pace. He was probably Liverpool's best player. He was absolutely brilliant. The concern we had was the subs he brought on made sense. We went 4-2-4 in the end, going for it. I can't blame Klopp for what he brought on. Unfortunately, all the lads he brought on are bang out of form. Jota's been not quite firing all cylinders for a couple of weeks. He's just hit that rut, that dip that everyone hits. Bobby's only coming back off another injury. And Keita, he didn't have a great game with his Wolves, and unfortunately, he just seems to have brought his Wolves performance, not the performance we've seen 2-3 weeks earlier. And so it's one of them I'm sort of going, it was probably a game, actually, and people may laugh, but it probably was a game for an Origi to come on. Something big, something physical, something different. And that's why I can understand the argument for people saying we need a more traditional number 9. Maybe not to start, but maybe to bring off the bench. I mean, I know they have a different level of money than us, but City have not hit their target this year, which is they want the Champions League. And I don't care what any City fan says, they do want to win the Champions League at some point. But they can score goals for fun. But they've realised in the key games, Real Madrid, like they've done to us, you need someone to come off the bench who is a traditional number 9 who just scores goals and is just a poacher. and that's what they've tried to do with Haaland. And maybe that's the evolution for Liverpool. With the potential look of Mane moving on, maybe this is a start of an evolution of the new squad. But look, I know I'm pretty buoyant about Liverpool, but I'll be honest, I found that defeat quite hard to take because I've seen how well Liverpool could play this year, and they just didn't play to the level in attack that I've seen Liverpool play to, which is quite hard to take in probably the biggest game of the season.
Yeah, like there was a part in the first half where, like I said, I thought Liverpool were playing well. I thought they were winning the ball back really well, and they weren't panicking when they won it back. Like sometimes you win it back and you might try something and for no reason because you won it back. They weren't. When the full-backs were winning it back, they were getting it inside to the centre-backs. We were playing again. Thiago was on it all the time. But you could see that Real Madrid sensed very quickly that if they get out of shape here, Liverpool were willing to put bodies forward. Their full-backs were really high, as they always are. Henderson was getting on. Thiago was just filling in holes and making it tick. And they really, really, compressed everything, and that's what their game is. And there was a ball from Henderson last night, and I hate when he does it, but I could understand what he was trying to do, where he whips one in from that kind of inside right channel. It goes straight into Courtois' hands. Now Courtois catches it probably near the penalty spot, and people around me were like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, will you stop doing that?" But I could understand where he was coming from. It was something different. Now I thought Henderson was good off the ball last night for the first half an hour or so, where he was pressing. But I can understand where people are coming from, where they say if you had someone in there that would actually carry the ball, commit people, be a bit more creative, I absolutely get that. But Liverpool probably should have looked to do something like what Henderson was doing and saying, right, we'll play, but at some stage we're just going to whip one right on the penalty spot, head height, and you go and attack it. And I don't think we've done enough of that. I don't think our variation and stuff was great last night. On the goal, though, Courtois has a great game. He has a great game. There's no doubt about it. Some of our finishing, not great. But some of the saves he makes, really, really good. In other European Cup finals, you're probably going, we scored 2 there tonight. We've scored 2 really good goals tonight. On their goal, I've seen an awful lot about, Trent, at the back post and stuff like that. And look, Trent has to shoulder some sort of blame for it. There's no doubt about that. But I think the midfield have to shoulder some blame as to how Real Madrid got into that position. I think Virgil van Dijk has to shoulder some blame for me, a little bit of a lazy attempt at blocking the ball. I don't know why he's leaning like that with his leg behind him and stuff like that. Should Konate get to it? Should Konate be deeper? Should Alisson? You could ask so many questions. It's just one of those where it's flashed across goal, the guy gets on the back of it. And I think he's onside by millimetres as well. So, but going back to Keith's thing, we'd loads of time to get back into it. And Real Madrid were always going to compress to the point where they were literally just getting as many people behind the ball as they could and leaving Modric as actually their out ball as opposed to Benzema. He was their out ball, 10 yards, 15 yards inside Liverpool's half to try and get it and play. And I felt sorry for Liverpool a little bit. If that Salah chance goes in, you don't know what's happening. He does really well. Great touch. Goes past Mendy, I think it is. Hits a really good right foot shot. You could argue should he keep it lower, but it's flying in the top corner. It's a good save. So
I was just glad he took her on his right because he's too predictable, just constantly cutting in on the left. And when he does go on his right foot, he tends to catch teams unaware. Sorry for that.
But I just think it was kind of a mixture of things last night. A little bit of poor finishing, some good goalkeeping. I think the goal's a little bit, you could throw things at a few players, but it can happen. We have many goals you see like that scored every week, and at the other end of the pitch, I think Jota tried really hard. Mane, Salah never stopped, to be fair. Keita was okay, didn't stop. Nobody gave up, but it was just one of those where, like I think was Kev said, our set pieces weren't good enough, not enough. There just wasn't enough intent on them for me. I'd have loved to see us in swinging corners all the time, right on the 6-yard line, because Courtois was committing to a lot. And if you can get the ball, he is. But if you're not beating the first man and then the next one is floating in the air, he's going to get it. But if you're willing to whip one in with decent quality on the 6-yard line, and he's to come through a load of bodies, I think we might have seen something different. But look, it's one of those you have to take on the chin. With regards to fans of other clubs and all having a go, just ignore them. Do you know what I mean? I've seen fans of other clubs there, this and all that, and I'm kind of going, yeah, you just keep going, because the longer people give out about Liverpool and think they're having a great laugh about Liverpool, you know where Liverpool, what position they're in. So if that continues, you know it's a good sign. And at the end of the day, we are watching Liverpool playing a European Cup final last night, and they weren't. So simple as that.
People hate what they fear. People hate what they fear.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
That's the thing. But look, I want to move on, because probably the biggest thing, Arsenal for Life said he was delighted we lost last night. That's fair. He's in this fucking group all year, and we've been.
Is that the same
fine.
one? Was that not Arsenal fan for life or something? Is this the
No, I think that's him.
The same one that's in there? Because if it is him, I admire the sneakiness, because he's been very respectful all year, and as soon as we win, he's coming in dropping blade hooks all over the place. So,
no, I think that is him.
More his commitment.
He said he was delighted, blah, blah, blah. But then he said, I'm just messing. I hope you're all feeling okay, though. It's been a tough week. I'll take tough weeks like that every year. Because sometimes they won't be as tough, and you know what comes at the end of it. But look,
if a season ends and you're disappointed only winning 2 cups, I'll take that disappointment.
And you know something? I think it's important to congratulate Real Madrid, because you know,
they're a side in transition, went. You know what I mean?
I think they are.
Finished article.
Yeah, they're far from the finished article, but I think
Ancelotti's done a great job.
He's done a brilliant job, and I think the age of the squad, when you see how he's going to transition them through, the likes of Camavinga coming on, I think it's going to be huge for them. They're looking at Tchouaméni, so we don't know what's going to happen there, but you have to congratulate Real Madrid, because you know, when you see the name Real Madrid, you expect, you know, from the early 2000s, swashbuckling, Galactico stuff, but Ancelotti has kind of gone, no, I'll come out and I'll play this game, because this is probably the best of what we've done. And they played their game really, really well. They had the goalkeeper to tank on occasion. Might have got a little bit of luck with the goal, but if you're not in it, you can't win it. Exactly. And you have to kind of congratulate them and say well done to them, because did they deserve to win last night? That's arguable. But it's hard for me to be non-biased towards Liverpool when it comes to that. But overall, Real Madrid, a brilliant run to the final. And they just nicked it from us in the end, and fair play to them, and I'm sure they will enjoy their celebrations. Now, I want to move on, because probably the biggest thing to come out of last night was the absolute farce that was pre-game and post-game for Liverpool fans, and I think Real Madrid fans, because I've read a little bit about this as well. The organisation around getting to the ground, ticket checks, security, getting through turnstiles and stuff like that. And a few people have said, and Dicko put this in earlier, and I kept it because I wanted to, because he said breaking GFF police, which are the French police, Paris, have reportedly filed in France blaming fans' fake tickets. Now, look, I'm sure everyone...
40 to 40,000 they claimed.
Yeah.
40 to 40,000.
Which is absolutely preposterous to say. All right.
Did they count them, did they?
Yeah, between 30 and 40,000. It's a big gap, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, the first thing I'd like to say is, and probably one of the biggest things I've seen an awful lot of stuff last night from people that weren't there, throwing all sorts of accusations out. The picture or the thing that goes up on the screen in the Stade de France about fans being late was appalling. All right.
Yeah.
And do you know what? I've tried to filter out an awful lot of what I've read today, and gone with journalists that were there, media that were there, Liverpool fans that I would know on a social media level, I suppose, that you'd follow them for a long time, and you know they're not like bullshitting you. And basically, the story comes out that fans turn up nice and early. They expect to get off the metro near the Stade de France. They expect to walk down, have tickets checked wherever they need to, go on, carry on, maybe a second check, and then towards the turnstiles, through and into the ground in plenty of time. Fans were 2 hours before the game were turning up the Stade de France, which is more than enough time to turn up at a football ground, you know, to access it. What you've seen though, and I read something really interesting today with regards to the security around Euro 2016 at the same stadium, by the way, where they basically had, you know, like an iron wall around the Stade de France for a mile in every direction. And when you got to this, your ticket was checked, and it meant that millions of people weren't converging on one big area. You would have a check. You would then go to a secondary check, halfway between there and the stadium. And after your secondary check, you would then make your way to certain parts or certain areas that you would make your way into the actual stadium through the turnstiles, because all the checks have been done and there's loads of room for people. What seems to have happened there, no, not what seems to have happened, what has happened is that fans show up nice and early. They are expecting to access the stadium via a certain place, and there's vans everywhere blocking off parts of streets. And instead of the street being 50 yards wide or 100 yards wide, it's 20 yards wide. So they're all being, shepherded into these really small areas. And then they're being pepper sprayed, tear gas, kids. Like, are you away for Champions League final 2 hours before the game is due to kick off? I think it's an absolute disgrace what's going on, and I hope Liverpool do something about it. I believe they will. I think Merseyside Police were over there. They're like they are at all games, and we'll do that. But go and read what's being said by journalists who I don't even think are Liverpool fans. They just happen to be there and see stuff. Like,
but you know what, Gav, we are very lucky about that, because without those journalists, and I'm not a fan, sorry for cutting across you, I'm not a fan of a lot of the tabloid journalists and all that, but the fella, Rob Draper, I think, from the Daily Mail, done a thread about it. Mm-hmm. And when these fellas are talking you through exactly what happened in that situation, you know there's no fucking blame on Liverpool fans. Every single journalist, every single pundit, every single person, forgetting about Liverpool fans, look at what their tails were to this. No blame can be put on Liverpool fans. It's all down to the organisation. But sorry for coming across.
No, Declan says Paris was a shambles. We'll never go back after last night. He got in early enough, but he could see it all unfolding outside from the top of the stand. He's never been as scared as he was walking back to that train station after the game. Of course, after the game, there didn't seem to be any perimeter. It was just what has been described as thugs outside trying to slash people and rob people and stuff like that. Jason McAteer said his wife was mugged and his young son assaulted as well. So, like, this isn't just something that's made up. The narrative that was being brought towards Liverpool fans is the most annoying bit of it, because look, I'm all for crowd safety. Everyone is getting into games in a timely fashion, going through turnstiles, like a human being should do, and going to a game and behaving yourself, enjoying yourself but behaving yourself. But gates being locked and people not being let in is ridiculous. The video of the guy holding his ticket going, look, I've just had my ticket, I just want to get into the ground. He's pepper sprayed for no reason. There's actually a video of a guy putting his ticket into the machine. Guy just comes over, bang, pepper spray. No problem. Eunuch says, wasn't Paris last night such an uneasy and hostile atmosphere from some of the locals, and police saw some disgraceful actions from the French police. Kev,
but you'd even hear now of journalists who took into a hut by the authorities and told, take your accreditations off, delete everything off your phone before we let you in.
Really?
That's all. I think it was Neil Jones or one of the national press guys retweeted it, because unfortunately for UEFA, we're in the world of social media and we're in the world of everyone's got a camera phone, so you can delete it off his phone, but 15 other people have seen it. But listen, the PR machine was in full swing 10 minutes when there was ever a sign of any trouble or delays, and they were very clear of who they were blaming. But unfortunately for them, the only people who believe are the usual saps that believe anything negative about Liverpool. And my advice with those people is, don't educate them, don't retweet them, just block them, delete them, move on. They're not worth your time. But the fact that you said you've got very senior press reporters who have no affiliations to Liverpool are all saying this, and they're still trying to peddle this bollocks. It's fucking outrageous. Look, my brother was at the game. Now, he got in very early, so actually he avoided all this nonsense. But I must admit, I was anxious till I got the text to say he was in the car going home okay. And he said himself he got home out the crowd with no real trouble, but he said the atmosphere was tense, and he even says he thinks that affected the crowd in the game, because I think a lot of people were more worried about
getting out afterwards.
Getting out, what the fuck am I going to see when they're getting out? I mean, I've seen tweets from Liverpool women players who I follow, and one of them said they stood their queue and got pepper sprayed.
Yeah, and
this is a professional athlete, so it's not like this. So again, this doesn't fit the narrative of what they're wanting to picture, which is a football job. And Neil Axon makes the best point of the whole thing, which is, why is it still football fans that put up with this bollocks? If you go to the theatre, they don't say to you, and I'm paraphrasing the Alex in here, but he says, we don't say to you, get here 2.5 hours before the theatre starts. But if you don't get in, it's your fault. And if we don't get in, we'll blame you. It wouldn't happen. I don't have to go to the pitches and, wait 2 hours before the picture starts to get in. But as football fans, we do this. And we pay 600-700 quid a ticket and £1,000 to get over there. And then you treat it like a piece of shit. And it happens all the time.
And a lot of people are talking about, like, not just before the game, but in Paris there was a bit of an edginess to what for the whole weekend. Now I've just seen a few people mention that. Nathan says, "Hi chaps, I was at the game. It was an absolute chaos. I got to the stadium 2 hours before the game and got to my seat 5 minutes before kickoff." But Kev, look, we can shout and scream all night about this, about how Liverpool fans aren't in the wrong. We don't really need to, because in fairness to the likes of and I'm just throwing a few names out there, but the likes of the journalists that we spoke about, Gary Lineker was having none of it last night. He was like, that's fucking complete bullshit. There was I think there was someone else belonging to Liverpool was at it.
Steve McManaman's one of his relations. I think it was his son was attacked as well.
Yeah, and Wayne Stewart says Andy Robbo's family didn't get in, told he had fake tickets. Robbo gave them, and Robbo after giving them the tickets. But Kev, look, the French police are going to double down on this. UEFA, I think, said stuff and backed off a little bit, but I don't know what way it's going to go now if the French police decide this, because they have to cover their own arse with regards to hosting anything like this again. But Kev, look, by the footage, you've seen it all, right? Yeah. You've seen all the footage. You've seen all the eyewitness stuff, right? From reliable people. I see Liverpool fans on online that go to so many games, and they're like, I think that's the last European Cup final I go to. Like, it was that bad that they're just going, I don't know if I can do that again. But Kev, like one of you said there, why? I think it was you. Why do we keep taking this?
No, it was Chris. But yeah, we take it because the alternative is we get blamed for rushing grounds for anything that goes wrong. So the standards that they've put in place is you arrive early. These are the ticketing procedures. You go through this, and this, and everything will be fine. So as fans, we put up with it. But the reality is the French government have experience of hosting events. They've got the Olympics in 2024 in that city.
What we go to that?
Who the hell is now? I mean, the best reporting I've seen on this was by your man who does the transfer stuff for Sky. And he walked through. That's it. And I wouldn't give him the steam off my
piss.
On a
normal
day. But he walked people through everything that happened. And then you marry that against the written reports of what you're seeing, and they're identical. And this is now going to be down to the club. I think Billy Hogan has put out a statement that the club are going to make official complaints to UEFA. Rangers had similar issues in Seville, apparently. France in general, apparently tonight there was trouble at Saint Etienne.
Yeah, did you see that?
Yeah,
I didn't see it yet. I didn't see it yet.
It's like a secret Star one.
Yeah,
but it's starting to creep into football. I mean, we've seen a bit of it in England with fans coming on the pitch and players getting headbutted and what have you. You're always going to get the odd few idiots. But eventually someone's going to do something at some game. The worst one I've seen this season was in Spain. It was Real Betis against Seville in a cup game. And someone launched a steel pole into the crowd. And it was like a javelin. And that was going back a few months ago. The game got abandoned, and that was a local derby. But this is a European Champions League final. I mean, Paris got the game late. They laid the pitch 2 days before the fucking game because they had a concert booked the night before or the week before and didn't cancel it. It was a car crash from start to finish. You're seeing the reports from everyone who's in the chat who was there. They're mirroring what we all read. The first report I read was Kelly Cates on Twitter, who was stuck outside, and she was saying what everyone else was saying, that there was pepper sprayed and there was loads of stuff going on at the exact same time as the announcement that the game was being delayed. I thought, hang on. We've been here before, and I had that sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach. And I watched the game after it, and I said to you before we come on air, never drink, couldn't be bothered. I felt sick
Yeah.
I felt so sick that, and reading people's tweets the minutes after that notice went up, accounts that I know and accounts that I've talked to in the past, how fast they believed the narrative that was being pushed by UEFA and how fast they believed the French police were telling the absolute truth. I thought, maybe it's just because I'm a bit older and a bit wiser and a bit sharper, but I honestly thought in this day and age, people were a bit switched on to this. Maybe I give people too much credit, but look,
these situations, people's true colours always showed them. As I always say, the mask will always slip with certain people, and you see what happens. But you need half a brain to realise within 10 minutes, you've got journalists with no connection to Liverpool from 5 or 6 major newspapers, English and Spanish, all saying the same thing. They all sat there in a huddle going, right, lads, let's do this together. In no fucking world is this happening. So, this where
it's just
a brain and get on with it.
It's sickening how the story evolved. And look, the French authorities have got to double down on it. Guaranteed. The French ministry...
But it wasn't even... the Interior Minister came out straight away and blamed British fans. Like, it just goes to show, and look, I don't like to compare Hillsborough, but it looked like there was a situation developing there where you're hearing about a crush, you're hearing about this, and how quickly they got their narrative out there. That was fans. It was ticketless fans. It was trouble by the British fans. And there was no such thing. I'm very lucky for the age of camera phones. I'm very lucky that all those journalists all sang from the same hymn sheet on that. We're still seeing Liverpool fans getting blamed on it, but that's just the usual shite that you'll get. But anyone with half a brain can tell there was no Liverpool fans really at fault on this.
Yeah, but the thing is,
there's got to be no repercussions for this.
Yeah, but the thing is, see all this fake ticket stuff, right? My question to that would be, how did a guy get to a turnstile with a fake ticket?
Yeah,
right? Exactly. In the Champions League final, right? Any ground is held in. You have an outer cordon, right? Or when the Olympics comes, or whatever it might be, you have an outer cordon. And when you get to the outer cordon, your ticket is scanned. And the reason it's scanned is to check its authenticity. Right? It's not admitting you into the ground. It's scanning it. They have all this technology now where you just scan it and go, yeah, that's real. Go. Right? And then you would get through and you would meet a second cordon. And when you meet the second cordon, it's basically, right, we're going to double check that we haven't missed anything. And we're also here to advise you where you need to go with that ticket to get in to this part of the ground, that part of the ground. Most people that go to these events know they've looked up the stadium, they've looked up the seat plan, they've looked up the gates, they've looked up what standard, all the stuff. Like, if you like someone going to Anfield and going, right, if I'm going into 304 in the Kop, I'm going to go in this gate. They know where they're going. If I'm going in the lower Anfield Road and I'm going round here, and this is the way I'll make my way to the ground, right? And when you get to a second cordon, it's usually a case of, yeah, go ahead, yeah, you're fine, or they're checking your bags, or they might take liquids off you, whatever it might be. And then your ticket is scanned at a gate. How could all these people get to the perimeter of the Stade de France where there's turnstiles with supposed fake tickets? Nobody was checking tickets there yesterday.
Did you see the French?
But there's not one video, Keith. There's not one video where there's people trying to check tickets and Liverpool fans are going, what the fuck's going on? Come on. There's none of that. All it is all you barrel in here, and then we'll condense the space down and we'll treat you like animals, right? Herding you into somewhere.
You heard that word, kettling.
Yeah, kettling. Yeah. And then what we'll do is we lock the gates and we lock the turnstiles. And if you have the audacity to ask what's going on here, we'll pepper spray you. It's Keith. It's like it's appalling. It's appalling what's happened. But Liverpool have asked for an independent investigation. Nothing's going to happen here, Keith. They're all going to just smoke and mirror this, and it'll all go away.
Yeah. It'll be, nothing will happen. The French are doubling down on what happened. UEFA are absolute jellyfish cowards. They're not going to do anything about it. When the reality is it was between UEFA and it was between the French to get that sorted, and they didn't. 3 months they had to get that sorted. Now, this is a stadium, as you say, that held Euro finals, it held World Cups, it held everything, every major event. Final. Yeah. They don't need a year to prep for this. This is one of the biggest cities in the world. They should have the infrastructure there. They should be able to cater for this. And they didn't. Did you see the French TV presenter that went up, ducked under the turnstile?
Yeah.
His ticket wasn't scanning. The bleeding security are getting selfies with him when he comes out. But once they let him in, they all start dipping under. And all the French locals, who this was who they have the issue with, was these French youths that hang around the stadium on match days. But as you said, if there's a perimeter around that, they're not getting near it. So how the fuck can they? How can they even? You know, it's not even about checking the fake tickets. Keeping these little feral rats out of the area should be a priority now, because it's like, Kev, when you see this and at the end stuff tonight, absolutely mental. Do you know what I mean? It's absolutely mental.
I've seen some of the lads with the comments in the chat, and yeah, it's something. I was watching Sky News last week, and someone started talking about perimeter fencing. I thought there's no fucking way that football is going to go back down that road again. But it's scandalous that that's even considered an option in 2022. And I can see some football federation somewhere is going to use it as an option. I mean, whether they go back to putting... I
don't think as a football federation you can. I think it's an across the board thing, Kev, where in 1994 all stadium and top divisions had to be all seated and all things had to be removed and stuff like that. I'm not sure it is, but you shouldn't need it. Like, you go to 99.9% of football games, regardless of if it's a relegation playoff or you win a title or whatever, and no one gets on the pitch. Sometimes they do, right? But sometimes when they go on the pitch, they're all running around delighted. They've, Bristol Rovers there had to win 7-0 or something the other week. They all jumped on, they all ran around, and there was no harm, right?
No.
And that's no problem. And even the Everton one, right? Okay, there's that thing with Vieira, but that's one fucking idiot. Let's be honest about it. You can't tar all Everton fans that were on that pitch with the one brush because of this idiot, right? And most of the time, it's good-natured. Some of the time, like St. Etienne tonight, it's not. They've been relegated at home, and they're throwing flares and fucking rockets and all sorts at people, right? But Kev, this is where it goes the other way. You have to trust 99.9% of football fans.
Of course you do.
Because they all turn up, they all have a nice time, they have a drink, they get food, they go in the ground, they shout and scream, they come out, and they make their way home, right? But there seemed to be, from me last night, it's not even a case of trust. It's like a disdain towards the football fan last night. And why? Because this is being moved from St. Petersburg to Paris. Now, Paris and the Stade de France or the French Football Federation clearly would have been asked, can you host this? Yeah, well, listen, it's a privilege to host it. It's the Champions League final. It's the biggest game in world football, right, on a season-by-season basis, right? Why would they show that disdain? Like, it's doing nothing for their own image. And on top of that, there was no reason to do it.
That's what I don't get. I'd love to find out from people who were over there what was the interaction like between Madrid fans and Liverpool fans in the city, because you saw it when we were in Madrid. The interaction between the Liverpool fans and the Spurs fans was brilliant. Not out of trouble. They were mixing together great, and that was the build up. And the build up to the game was absolutely fantastic. We all seen the scenes. I saw one fan park yesterday, or that they had a concert at, but in general, I didn't see much else. I didn't see much else of the build up.
I
saw the French said that anyone who was going to be in and around the Champs-Élysées or the Eiffel Tower, if they were wearing football tops, they were going to face a fine.
Yeah,
I thought that's a hostile environment to start with.
Yeah.
It's like, we don't want you here, and if you are going to be here, you stay in this block and don't move from it, kind of thing.
Yeah, Passio,
it was weird.
Passio disagrees with me. He says none of it is all right because once you have people on the pitch, you lose control. I completely get that, but sometimes control is lost in a nice way. People get exuberant about it. Don't get me wrong. The stuff that happens to Billy Sharp and Patrick Vieira, again, there's combined, there's probably 80,000 people in those two stadiums, and 2 people have let their whole club down, right?
You had that City, didn't you, with the Villa keeper?
Yeah, you have that as well. So we're looking at 120,000 people and 3 people have to. And you know what? It's probably a good point at this stage because of what's happened over the last couple of weeks, and it seems to be something that's growing. I absolutely get that. Cahill says 99.9% can be grand, 0.1% with fireworks will ruin it for us all. It will.
Yeah.
But listen, that's probably an argument for another day. People coming on the pitches and stuff like that. And in certain circumstances, you kind of go, Jesus, they're having a great time, you know, getting promoted. And in some other circumstances, it's completely wrong. But I don't think it will ever get you to an argument where you put fencing around pitches again. I think it's absolutely mad.
I wonder what it'll do for the safe standing, but you know, they were trying to push safe standing.
Yeah, but there's a lot of safe standing in the Kop now. Loads of it.
Yeah.
You know.
And the Anfield
and the Anfield Road end as well, yeah. Jono says pitch invasions are shit. I have no time for them. I don't really either. Like if I was in Anfield and Liverpool win the title on the last day of the season, I don't want to see anyone on the pitch. I want to see the pitch clear so the players can absolutely enjoy themselves, and I think that's probably the best way to go. But my whole thing around this is there doesn't seem to be any spark for what's being done there last night. There doesn't seem to be any incident or attitude from Liverpool fans. It's not like they turned up at 9:15 French time, expecting to get in the ground and were piling in on turnstiles. This is at 7 o'clock last night French time, 2 hours before the game.
In fairness, who the hell turns up to a Champions League final late? It doesn't happen.
No,
it never added up from the start.
But it was delayed because people turning up at 8 o'clock were finding the people that turned up at 7 o'clock couldn't get into the ground. So of course you're going to end up with 30,000, 40,000 people outside, and it's 8:30 French time at half an hour to kick off. Of course you're going to have an issue because you're locking gates and you're shepherding people down these narrow walkways and stuff like that. It's absolutely ridiculous. Look,
the only thing we all know. The only thing that's going to happen is Liverpool will get a massive fine and we'll be blamed for the delay, and they may make us do a game behind closed doors. And then the UEFA will go, hands washed, that's us done. And we just know that's what they'll do. None of us will agree with it, and there'll be the usual hand-wringing and outrage, but they won't do fuck all about it because they don't want they don't want.
Yeah, you'll be waiting a long time. You'll be waiting a long time for UK government to do it.
Yeah, it'll be a long time we pay it, but that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, but I think what'll happen here is I don't think Liverpool will be punished for it. I think this will be a case of, like you said, trying to wash their hands of it in some way, and it'll be smoke and mirrors and independent investigations that'll go on for a year, and people go, "Oh, is that still going?" And people lose interest. They just do. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
But I have to say, from what I've seen of Liverpool fans before and after the game last night, I think the absolute vast majority were impeccably behaved under what would have been very threatening kind of situation, and one in which if they reacted in some way, you kind of go, well, how much are they meant to take here? Do you know the sort of way? But look, it's I'm sure it'll rumble on over the next days and weeks, and we'll cover it as it goes. Where do we want to go? The parade. So, Keith.
The parade.
Keith.
The parade.
I've seen loads of the coverage of the parade today. I kind of had it on and I was in and out doing stuff around the house. But the big thing to come out of for me is, Liverpool fans turned out, regardless of what happened last night. Now, don't get me wrong, I think if they'd have won last night, I don't know how many more you would have added onto the crowd, but you see Andy Robertson saying, got up this morning, not in great form, didn't think many would turn up, and then he sees what turns up today. Jurgen Klopp basically says, look, I don't give a shit what anyone else thinks about our club. It's the best in the world. We used the biggest game in Europe last night, and look what's in front of us today. I thought it was absolutely class, a show of class, and a show of I don't know, not defiance. I don't think it's defiance, but I think
it is. I think there's a bit of that. Yeah, I think there's a bit of defiance in it. Yeah,
no,
genuinely, I do. I think it was a case of, Jurgen Klopp's words, I thought, were very telling. He's more or less saying, I don't give a shiny shite what anyone else thinks about this. This is what we're doing because this is for their fans. And I loved it. Do you know what I mean? I think, happy days. This is what it's all about. Because we didn't get a parade for the league, and this wasn't a parade for the league, you know what I mean? This was a parade for the cup, but it was a parade to thank the fans. Do you know what I mean? It was for the fans and the team to get together. This is a great team. Don't forget that. This is a fucking great team we have here, and they wanted that as much as we as fans wanted it. You saw the players' reactions. You saw Kanate saying he'd never seen anything like this in his life. You see Thiago posting stuff, and he's like, "The fuck's going on?"
The women's team got to be involved in it, which is
And
massive.
that's brilliant.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
They led
that's
it.
brilliant.
The women's team led
That's
it.
what you want. That's what they want. You know,
That's-
that's gonna help that side of football as well, really well. 'Cause look what you can see. Look what they can do. It's brilliant. I have seen someone in the chat. I'm looking at his name saying it's a farce. Fucking do one, man. Do you know what I mean? Go and enjoy yourself. Mine
Exactly.
I'm gutted I missed it because I was never unfortunately going to be able to make the parade because of family commitments. So
I was expecting you on the bus with the women's team doing an interview.
If they'd let me, I would have done, but I don't think that's ever going to happen, unfortunately. But also, the good thing was they had women from people from the Liverpool Women's Supporters Club got to go on the bus as well. So
And a couple of people that work for the food banks as well.
Yeah,
were invited on as well.
That's the nice community part of it. That is what you want football.
Well, it shows what the club thinks of these people, and is a little bit within you know, they know we're in touch of them. You know, that kind of way they know that they don't just ignore that. Keith, I'll come back to you though. You know, it's huge numbers again, and it's basically saying to this side, like, I think it's a thank you to this side for the season that's in it. Like you said earlier, you're probably 10 minutes away from a league title last Sunday. You're nicking a goal somewhere last night for the European Cup, but you still won 2 trophies. And I seen a great one today where someone said, "Hold on, we're accused of disrespecting these trophies, and then when we go and win them, we're accused of over-egging them. So where would you like us to go with this? You know?" But Keith, you think it's a bit of defiance, and you think maybe so, and it's kind of like, we're with you, and we go again next year.
Yeah.
Because I think the players would have felt it.
Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the time when we only spoke about Divock Origi the other day, and he scores in the West Brom game, and Klopp gets them all to thank the crowd after a 2-2 draw, and everyone made a laugh at that. But that was important. That's one of the most important moments of the Klopp era, even though it's a 2-2 draw home to West Brom. Bringing it and getting the team and the fans back together, so fans aren't leaving early. This is saying, like, don't worry, we're all down here. The players are all down. They got beaten. As you say, Andy Robbo didn't think many would be there. They saw what it meant to the people. They saw what it meant to the fans. And they know the fans are behind them. And like I said, I'm a big Calvin Harris fan, but I wish he'd have turned the fucking music off when Klopp was trying to do his chatting, you know, because you couldn't really hear them.
Slap.
Yeah, Calvin, knock it off, mate. We'll put it on in a minute.
Yeah.
But I just thought Klopp's words were very, very, very defiant. It's like a sage mentality, but not in the sense of, you know, the Jose Mourinho sage mentality. More of a, because Klopp doesn't, he's a smiling assassin, you know what I mean? I just felt he was saying, look, the fact he was saying, I don't care what anyone else thinks. I couldn't care what people outside this club thinks. I thought that was very telling. Managers don't usually come out with that. But Klopp's been saying a fair bit of it. He said it after Wolves, didn't he, last week, when he says we'll be having a parade, and if that annoys people, good. And you know, this is the sort of thing that will rally again. You know, when you feel down, right? You feel down. I've seen again Liverpool fans on Twitter, worst week of our lives, blah blah blah. Listen.
Fucking Hodgson. Do you not remember that?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. Like, we're getting beaten in a Champions League final and could have had a quadruple. We won 2 trophies. As you said, Gav, we get pilloried for not taking them serious. The year we take them serious, them 2 Mickey Mouse tournaments. No matter what happens, there's always a but, and it doesn't matter. Yeah. We won 2 trophies there. We had a parade. The women's team were there as well. Oh, but it was only the championship, not the premiership. So what? Do you know what I mean? It's bringing the club, it's bringing the women's team, because we all know the women's team got neglected. The women's team won, didn't they win? They won 2 Premier titles, didn't they, a few years ago?
Same manager won back-to-back WSLs, and then within 4 or 5 years, relegated.
Yeah, but the club didn't put anything into it. They ignored the women's team, and to bring them back and to get them back into the fold, it's a bigger picture. It's all bigger picture stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's all big picture stuff. And Klopp, this is what he's in it for. He wants the fans. You're seeing it more and more. He was always very much a man of the fans, whether it was at Dortmund, whether it's at Mainz and Liverpool as well. But you're seeing it more and more now. I think he's getting a bit more militant, which, yeah, Yeah, I can get well behind this, because I just think, Liverpool fans will always support the team. Well, in the main, you know what I mean? Most fans will support the team. But when you have Klopp leading, you have a Messiah-like figure there, I just think, that helps get it back. Because you lose a Champions League final. The last time we lost to them, on the Monday we announced Fabinho.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So today we just had a big parade instead.
Today we had a big parade. Now the news is breaking about Sadio Mane. That's bad news, blah, blah. Fuck it, we're having a parade and we'll worry about that tomorrow.
Well, look, the Sadio Mane thing, I'll talk about in a minute. Kev, parades, all for it, cheer you up.
It did. And, I wasn't expecting it to. I think G10 put a comment in there earlier on. I was skeptical. And I was wondering, I think a lot of the players, how many people are really buying into this? And then when you saw the numbers, when you saw the streets, it's like it's a reminder, if you ever needed one, that social media is a microcosm of opinion that doesn't reflect society. And that, be that in football, be that in life, it doesn't. And what you saw today was a city and a club coming 3 years out of COVID, or 2 years out of COVID, and for the first time, the whole city, people who can't go to games, who can't afford to go to games, young families who got kids who just cannot afford match day tickets, got to be able to go out and celebrate their club for the first time in 2.5 years. And you say it wasn't about the league. It was, for me. It was everything that this club has achieved, good and bad. Winning the title, fighting to get into the top four, getting to the Champions League final, and everything in between. And it was a release. That's what it was. It was a release of emotion for the entire city, for the red half of the city, to just let it all out. And with Klopp's speech, he knows what's coming. He knows who's going, but he also knows who's coming. And he's really defiant. And with our record in the market, and him sounding bullish and telling fans to book your hotels for Istanbul, it's the omens are good for us. And like you said, Keith, we are a very, very good side. We're a top-tier side. We are one of the best sides in Europe. And look, hats off to Madrid. Madrid are the best side in the world at the moment. They have walked the walk. They've beaten everyone, and they stand on the top of the hill. But they're there to be knocked down now. And we'll go again next year, and we'll do our level best to knock them down.
Yeah, look, I think we're going to do a season review at some stage during this week. We're only talking about it before we come on, what we're going to do this week. And I will touch on all that before we leave. But the last thing, a few people have asked with regards to Sadio Mane. I've seen a quote today, and to be honest with you, I'm kind of lost, because fucking some quotes here, some quotes there, and then you're like, that quote isn't actually real. This is actually what he said. The usual. But I did see one today saying that Sadio Mane has said he hasn't made a decision on his future. It's a big decision, and he'll need time. Chris, I'll come to you first. I just want your gut feeling on this. Stay or go?
Sadly, I think he's going, which is, I would say, out of the original front three, I thought he'd be the one that stayed out the three. But I think when it's come from Neil Jones and the usual Liverpool journos that they're implying he's going to go, they've got wind of something, and it's unusual for them all to do that sort of speculation, which it's a shame, because I love Sadio Mane, and he was the first big cog in the Klopp machine to get this going, and he is when you think of the early Klopp years, it is Sadio Mane, and that leads to us getting the Mo Salah and things like that. So I think he goes, which I'm really gutted about, because I think he's great, and I just think now we're starting to see phase 2 of Mane, which is as a number 9, which I think he's brilliant at, and I think he would have been brilliant for us next year as a number 9. That's the thing with the parade. The parade did cheer me up, because I must admit, Kev's had messages off me. I've been quite dour and not been a chip herself as all day. But maybe this is also a bit of a thank you and a goodbye to this current squad, because we probably are now going to see that famous front three no more, and we are going to start seeing the next evolution, which it happens to all clubs. All clubs go through that evolution. So maybe this is Klopp's way of also saying thank you and goodbye to Klopp version 1. We're going to Klopp version 2 now, which, look, nobody likes change, but I think that's the way it is. So sadly, I do think Mane's going, unfortunately.
Kev, stay or go?
Yeah, I think he goes, but apparently he hasn't asked to go. He hasn't put in a transfer request, or he hasn't told the club officially what he wants to do. I think he goes, but I think he goes on the club's terms.
Yeah.
Because if it's a derisory offer, they'll keep him for the year and let him go for free.
Yeah. Well, Klopp did mention that anyone that has a year left in their deal has been offered deals at Liverpool. It won't change.
They all know where they stand.
Yeah,
including Mo Salah. It's a case of, look, this is the deal. If you don't want to sign it, that's fine. That's up to you. But it's not going to change. It's not going to improve. And in fairness, if Mo Salah is going to be offered the top wages at the club and be the club's top earner, he needs to come back in August and show why he deserves that amount of money.
It probably shows.
He hasn't done it.
No. Look, he hasn't been in great form, and it's allowed. You know, he's been unbelievable for 4 years, 5 years, whatever.
For me, that would make me stop and say, look, okay, there's a really good offer on the table for you to stay for 3 or 4 years. You're 30 years of age, and this will take you up to 34. It's the biggest contract the club has ever issued to anyone, on the strength of you putting in a pile of shite for 4 months.
Yeah,
in comparison to what you're normally turning out. So,
but I think with the club saying that Klopp has said that these players know where they stand, the deals are being offered. So I think it's also kind of saying, like, if you want to run them down. I think the club are kind of saying, now they might be called a bluff a little bit, but the club, if from what Klopp is saying is true, the club are very comfortable. You know, if Salah wants to go, we'll put a price on him and he can go, or he can run it down. Sadio decides he wants another challenge. You know, to be a price per annum, and if he doesn't, we let it run down. But at the same time, you don't want players there for a year when they don't want to be there. You know, it's a bit of a balancing act. Before I get on to Keith, I'll give him the last word now. I do think he goes. He'd go with my blessings, to be honest with you. He'd go with, like, all the respect in the world. I think Chris said he's the first cog in it, and he was. He was the one that started it all, Sadio Mane. He's been nothing short of exceptional for literally 6 years at Liverpool, and it'll be 6 years in August, I think. And, you know, absolute warrior of a player. You know, I remember him going playing AFCON and coming back, and about 2 days later he comes on as a sub against Norwich in 1920. But you know what? All these things come to an end. If you told me tomorrow he's staying, I'd be absolutely thrilled. I think you're seeing a reaction where people are going, well, they signed Diaz, that's Mane's replacement, and when Mane goes, they won't be signing anyone else. And I'm kind of going, all right, but let's see what they do, because you have to trust them.
But Origi's going as well, so you've got to replace his minutes.
Yeah, well, look, but this is what I'm saying. When it comes to the summer, people just need to chill out. And we will be talking about transfers throughout the summer, and just what we think, what's happening, what's being rumoured and stuff like that. And we go through that probably once or twice a week as well. Keith, any hope he stays, or do you think, no, that's Mane done?
I think he's gone. Yeah, I think he's gone. I'd love it if he stays. I was selling him. We all know that. I was getting rid of him. But it was only because of the contract situation and trying to get money for these players. But I agree with something you said there, Gav. You know, Klopp did come out and say the club have made their position clear on all the players with a year left, and there won't be any sort of changes to that. And I think the club have more or less said, yeah, look, you can run your contracts down to the front three specifically, right? So Sadio, Mo and Bobby, you know, they don't really owe us anything, if I'm being totally honest. They've come in and they've won it all. They've done brilliant for us. And I think they'll allow go. And I think what's happening with Mane now is, I think the Lewandowski thing is what's after thrown that. I don't think they planned to sell Mane. I think Lewandowski wanting out of Bayern Munich means Bayern need a replacement. And he's the one that they want in there to replace him as a 9. And from Mane's point of view, I can understand if that's the move that's going to happen, why he would want it. Because we keep saying, you know, where can Mo Salah go? Who can buy him? Because the Spanish teams, they're not really where I know Real win the Champions League, but they're not where they were. It's not the top destination now. The Italian league isn't there. PSG, it's a bit of a blatant graveyard. Bayern are a good team. You know, it's a one-horse league or whatever, but they don't have the same smell off them that the likes of PSG do and all, and they still have that sort of big club sort of aura
Mystique.
about them. Yeah, they have that mystique about them. And I think, the lure of going there now at 30 years old, he's 30, isn't he? I think he's 30. The lure of going there now at 30 has just the sort of opportunity has presented itself, and that's why I think he goes. I think he's, I think that he kept them all and let them all run down, and I think this talk of 25 million and people are going apeshit over it. I think
did
that's going to be the
Thiago.
fee. It's the
We
same
did for
Thiago,
Thiago.
exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's the fees being reported as 25 million with 8 million in add-ons, and the add-ons are going to be paid because they're going to win the league. He's going to probably end up as top scorer in the league, and they'll go deep in Europe. But Sadio has won everything. He's literally won football with us. He's given us some of the best moments, some of the best goals. The backheel goal, the one against Bayern Munich from Virgil's long ball, the stop and chip. He's an outstanding player. And replacing him is going to be difficult. But given the track record of the club, you give him the benefit of the doubt that Sadio's not moving until the replacement is lined up. And it will be a replacement who will be able to come in and hit the ground. It'll have to. Because there's going to be no let-up next year.
I think it's a really weird situation because I look at Firmino plays down the middle. I don't think Jota's a wide player. I think he plays down the middle.
Yeah.
I think Salah or Mane, some people saying he's pushed out of position because of Diaz's form. I think Mane, they just seen him went, Jota's not in great form. Bobby's injured. I'm going to put Mane in there. Mane might see himself as wanting to go back out on the left, and you never know. But I think it's a really weird one because even if he leaves, right? Even if he leaves with Origi gone, I still think you're trying to square peg round hole a little bit because you're going to end up with Salah on the right that has a year left on his deal. You'll end up with Diaz playing down the left. Now, I know it's a squad game, so you can put them anywhere. But then I kind of look and say, what do you sign? Because you have a 9 in Firmino. You have a different type of 9 in Jota. Do you go and sign an out-and-out 9 goal-scoring 9? And do you say, right, someone's going to end up kind of going, I have to go and play second fiddle to Salah here, who plays every game, or I'm going to play on the left and I don't want to. I think it's actually quite a hard one. But look, the summer will tell. I think they will sign players, and we'll see where we are come the first week in August.
Nkunku is getting a lot of talk, and I see Nkunku as a wide sort of option. And I don't know. I think we go more for a central player, even though you're saying we have got Bobby and we have got Jota. I think they would look maybe to do the central striker and then a winger next season when Salah goes. It's very hard to guess. It is very hard.
I think we change shape. I can see us going to a 2-man midfield. The Tchouameni links screened 4-2-3-1 or 4-4-2 to me. And then if that doesn't work out, Sangare at PSV. Exactly the same mold.
Yeah, it's getting a lot of talk.
He's in exactly the same kind of mold as Tchouameni, 6'3", a pure bull of a number 6. And whether it's a case that we turn around and say, okay, we've got a front 4, you still got Taki around as well. You've still got Curtis Jones. You've still got Harvey Elliott, and you've got the young lad coming in from Fulham.
Yeah.
I think you do need a focal point striker if you're going to change.
Yeah, well, look,
we need that option.
We have all summer to talk about that, and
isn't that going to be great?
we'll have all summer to talk about that and talk about, how we do it. We take all the links and we go through them and say what we think, whether it be yes or no, and get the views of the people in the chat. Before we finish up, Féileacáin is our charity partner. As I said, we've gone past the 50% mark, so we're going towards the 100% mark now if possible. The link is in the description if you want to know all about them. There's another link in the description also where you can donate. You can take that link and you can send it to friends, family, colleagues, wherever it might be. Or if you're thinking of doing some charity fundraiser stuff and you want to make Féileacáin your charity and link it through us, you can absolutely do that as well. But go and check it out. With regards to the summer, first of all, I'd like to thank everyone for watching all season. It's been absolutely incredible. The chat is spot on. It always is. And hopefully it'll stick with us through the summer when we bring you drafts, quizzes, drinking, transfer stuff, and whatever else we can fit in. But for this week, we're going to have winners and losers tomorrow night. It's going to be Phil, Dicko, and Pete tomorrow night. We're going to do a season review, possibly on Tuesday or Wednesday. We're going to throw in a transfer agenda show just for the crack to get us kicked off, because we will be into June. We will have the viewer's voice, which was brilliant last Thursday. We're going to do that again on Thursday. Sports Unplugged will be with you on Friday, and the lads are going to look at loads of stuff over the summer, wherever comes up in sport, but a lot of football stuff as well. They're going to try to get some guests on from different clubs to talk about their clubs and stuff. So there's a lot there. There's a lot there that we're going to work on throughout the summer. Let us know if you like it or don't like it. That's absolutely fine. But once again, from all of us, I want to thank everyone for watching, subscribing, liking, sharing, commenting. And from now on, all we want is your comments as of tomorrow's show. Cav Oldham is ready for a break, so am I, but I don't get one, Cav, so you'll have to stick with it. That has been it.
He's starting back in about 4 weeks, is it?
I think the Premier League starts back on Wednesday. Kev, anything else before we go?
No, mate, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure joining the team this season. I've loved every minute of it. I've really enjoyed all the interactions from the chat, from you guys. It's just been a fantastic year. It's been a great season for the club, and I can't wait to see how this side evolves. I'm really looking forward to the summer, see how this side evolves, and then we can get excited for pre-season and start the season August 6th. It's going to be a crazy year, man, next season. 5 subs, can't fucking wait. Bring it on.
Chris, anything else before we go?
No, similar to Kev, I enjoy going back to doing Friday shows. You know, me and Kev and Luke, we have a good giggle, don't we? Normally winding each other up. And look, I've enjoyed the ride with the men's team and the women's team. I've enjoyed the opportunity of covering the women's team a bit more in depth than I have been able to do before. So I'm looking forward to do some more WSL chat next season.
Good stuff. Keith, anything else before we go?
No. Paseo has had a nightmare in there in the chat talking about the show has gone downhill since the talk of Tosties has declined, and he jumped in with Tasties.
And now he's got Tosties, right?
He eventually got there, fair play.
Listen,
but yeah, we should have a random one Sunday. We should have a random one Sunday where we talk about Toasties and get Andy on and talk about chocolate eggs and all that stuff, you know what I mean? Yeah. And let's just have the odd little randomer thrown in, just for the likes of Paseo, just to keep them happy.
Declan Max says, thanks for all the content this year, lads, and really enjoyed it, except Keith talking about Brentford, which of course...
Did you know Keith went to see Brentford?
He went to see Brentford.
Do you know what, right? I'm just going to say, right, I spoke about that once, right, and got lashed out.
And it wasn't once.
Lashed out. It was 1 week, right? So I brought... And it was about Fabinho.
Yeah, but you done 4 shows that week.
Yeah, but it was about Fabinho. It was just like... you know how brilliant he was, and I won money on a bet off him and all that, and I got lashed out of it. You fuckers talk about matches all the time.
Okay,
well, not quite.
Look,
not quite Villarreal, is it? Though.
Yeah, we might put a ban on it next season. But look, as you know, this week that's coming, there will be a lot of the normal shows because it's still the week after the season finishing. But over the summer, we do try to do transfer stuff. We do try to do historical Liverpool stuff, quizzes, drafts, random stuff. And you know what? Loads of people like it. Some people don't. But we've got to the stage now where we just put it out there. And if you like it, you watch it. If you don't, you don't. We know what we do. We know what we like doing. We know what people like. So we'll try to bring as much variety throughout the season or throughout the summer as we possibly can. And then before you know it, the Premier League will be back. League Cup games will be back. And it'll be it's another good season to look forward to. That has been the Fatback 4. Thanks a million for watching. Talk to you soon. Over now.